Disclaimer: this content is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. My name is Marissa. I'm 34 years old, and last night, I sat in the dark in my bathroom while my son slept down the hall, and I whispered out loud, "I miss myself." I didn't mean to say it. It just came out, like something uncoiled inside me without permission. And the truth of it hit me so hard I started crying before I even understood why. I used to feel wanted. Not just for my body or because I remembered to pay the internet bill or scheduled our son's dentist appointment. I mean wanted, in that way that makes you feel electric, seen, irreplaceable. Evan used to look at me like that. When we were younger, God, even just 5 years ago, he couldn't keep his hands off me. We'd cook dinner and dance barefoot in the kitchen, sneaking kisses while the pasta boiled over. He used to brush the hair behind my ear when we talked, or squeeze my thigh in the car when we laughed too hard. And now? Now he pats my shoulder when I'm folding laundry. He kisses the top of my head like I'm his cousin. Sometimes I'll touch his hand when we're watching TV, and he flinches like he forgot I was even there. You don't notice the shift all at once. That's the most dangerous part. It doesn't happen like an earthquake. It's more like a leak in the ceiling. Slow, invisible. Until one day, you wake up in a house that smells like rot, and you can't remember when it started. I became a mom 3 years ago. And I love our son more than I have words for. But I didn't know it would cost me this much. Not sleep or time or freedom, I expected all that. I mean me. Evan said all the right things when I was pregnant. Called me beautiful, rubbed my swollen feet, told me I'd be an amazing mother. And I held on to those words like armor. Because I could feel my body changing. I could feel the fear creep in, that I wouldn't be sexy anymore, that he'd only see me as a mom, not a woman. But I brushed it off. I trusted him. After the baby came, sex turned into something we scheduled or skipped. He'd say he was tired. Or we'd both collapse into bed and face opposite directions without even thinking. I tried to bring it back. I lit candles one night. Put on the perfume he liked, even though it made me nauseous after the baby. I walked into the bedroom in one of the few things that still fit. He looked up from his phone and said, "What are you doing?" Like I'd confused him. We had sex that night, but it felt like a courtesy. He kept the lights off the whole time, and afterward, he rolled away like I'd asked him for a favor. I cried in the shower the next morning. Not because he hurt me, but because I felt like I was trying to prove I still deserved to be touched. Things got quieter after that. Not colder, exactly. Just quieter. Like we were trying not to disturb each other. We'd kiss goodbye in the mornings, lips brushing like we were cousins again. He still said love you, but it sounded like a habit. And then, 3 months ago, he came home late from a team dinner. He smelled like some kind of synthetic vanilla, the kind you don't get from cologne. I asked how the dinner went. He mumbled something and went to shower. That night, when he reached for me in bed, I flinched. I didn't mean to. But I did. He didn't notice. Or maybe he did and just didn't care. That was the moment. The one I keep playing over and over. Not when I found the texts. Not when I found her Instagram. It was that night. When I flinched. Because I realized something terrifying, I didn't want him to touch me anymore. And worse, I wasn't sure when that started either. And somehow, now that everything's out in the open, he's acting like I'm the one who broke us. Like my motherhood made me unlovable. Like my body, my exhaustion, my quiet was the betrayal. But I've been here the whole time. Loving him through all of it. And he's the one who left. Even if his body never walked out the door. Evan's a paramedic. Which means, at any given time, he's either saving a life, witnessing something he'll never talk about, or completely unreachable. And for years, I wore that like a badge of honor, being the steady one, the grounding force. But lately, I've started wondering if that just gave him permission to check out at home. It started small. A dish left in the sink. A pile of his uniforms on the bathroom floor, even though the laundry basket was 2 feet away. I told myself, he's tired. He's seen things today you don't even want to imagine. But when you're the one holding the pieces of everyday life, managing schedules, remembering the pediatrician's name, Googling why toddlers scream in lowercase and uppercase cries, your compassion starts to fray. Last month, I asked him to be home in time for Milo's bedtime. It was a Thursday, and Milo had made him a finger-painted card at daycare. All Evan came home early tonight. No warning, just walked through the door while I was still in my leggings, hair in a claw clip, spaghetti sauce splattered on my shirt from trying to feed Milo with one hand and stir the pot with the other. "Smells amazing in here," he said, dropping his bag by the door. "Hey, babe." He kissed my cheek. I didn't flinch, not physically, but something in me curled away, like my emotions had grown teeth. I felt the kiss land on my skin, but it didn't reach me. I wiped my hands on a dish towel. "It's just jar sauce." He stepped behind me, arms wrapping around my waist. His hand slipped under my shirt, not in a sexual way, not exactly. Just skin to skin, casual and familiar. Still, my body stiffened. "Hey," he said gently, swaying us side to side. "Remember when we used to cook naked and burn the toast?" I gave a tight laugh. "Yeah. I also remember when we had countertops without sippy cups and teething rings." He chuckled, not catching the edge in my voice. When dinner was done and Milo was asleep, Evan followed me into the laundry room, where I was folding yet another pile of tiny clothes. "You've been quiet lately," he said, leaning against the dryer. I kept folding. "I'm tired." "You're always tired." I paused. My fingers gripped one of Milo's shirts, the one that says Mommy's Little Sidekick. He came up behind me again, hand sliding down my arms. "Let me help you unwind," he whispered, his mouth brushing the back of my neck. I froze. Because I wanted to. God, I wanted to feel desired. To melt into his hands. To remember what it felt like to be his wife instead of just a roommate in leggings and mom buns. But all I felt was pressure. I turned around, gently pulling his hands off me. "Can we not right now?" He blinked, surprised. "Why not?" "Because I stopped, realizing I didn't even have a word. I wasn't angry. I wasn't in pain. I wasn't physically repulsed. I just couldn't." He looked hurt. And confused. Like I'd changed the rules without telling him. "I'm just in a weird headspace," I said, softening. "Long day." He nodded, stepping back. "Okay." No pressure. But there was pressure. Even in his silence. Especially in it. Later, we were watching TV in bed, and he slid his hand onto my thigh. Not even sexual, just affectionate. But my muscles tensed again. He noticed. Pulled away. "Are we okay?" he asked, eyes still on the screen. I shrugged. "We're fine." He kissed me goodnight, his lips brushing mine. Soft. Familiar. And I felt nothing. Not disgusted. Not affection. Just blank. Like I was watching myself kiss someone I used to love in a dream I'd already woken up from. He sighed into the pillow and rolled away. And I lay there, staring at the ceiling, my heart thudding too loudly in the quiet. Because I missed him. But I didn't want him. Or maybe I just didn't want to be wanted like this, like my worth only existed in what I could give, or how quickly I said yes. I wanted him to ask how I was feeling. To notice that I cry in the car now. To tell me I'm more than a body he misses touching. Instead, it always comes back to this: hands on my waist, lips on my skin, always assuming I want to be touched before I want to be heard. And the question rose in me again, bitter and lonely: why does everything have to turn into sex? It happened at a restaurant. One of those dimly lit places with cloth napkins and candles in little glass jars, the kind we hadn't gone to in years. Evan made the reservation for our anniversary. Said he wanted to rekindle things. I'd spent the whole afternoon picking at my reflection in the mirror. Nothing looked right. The dress I used to love didn't fit the same, the waist was too tight, the neckline too low. My skin felt unfamiliar. Evan wore the cologne I liked. He opened the car door for me, made a big show of pulling out my chair at the table. It felt performative, like he was trying to imitate a version of himself from 5 years ago. But I smiled. I smiled because I wanted it to work. I wanted this night to mean something. Halfway through the meal, he reached across the table, took my hand, and said, "You look really beautiful tonight, Riss." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "Thanks." He tilted his head. "That's it? You've been quiet all night." "I'm just tired." "You're always tired lately." His voice was light, teasing, but something about it struck a nerve. I pulled my hand back and took a sip of water to keep from saying something stupid. Evan sighed. "Come on, Marissa. I'm trying here. I planned this night. You didn't even say thank you." "I didn't ask for this," I said, too fast. He blinked. "What?" "This dinner. This charade." I set my fork down. "You think if we dress up and eat pasta under twinkle lights, it'll fix everything?" "Jesus," he muttered, glancing around. "Can we not do this here?" I felt it bubbling up, that knot in my throat that had been tightening for months. My vision blurred. My voice rose before I could stop it. "You want to know what I want, Evan? I want you to see me. Actually see me. I want you to look past the stretch marks and the spit-up stains and remember I'm still in here. I want you to ask how I'm doing instead of assuming touching me fixes everything." His jaw clenched. "I tell you you're beautiful. I planned this night. I try to be close to you and you keep pushing me away. What the hell do you want from me, Marissa?" "I want to stop feeling like a burden every time I say no," I snapped. "I want to stop pretending I'm okay being touched when I feel invisible. My voice cracked. "I want to stop thinking about that 26-year-old with perfect skin and no stretch marks and how she probably looked at you like you were everything." Silence. The kind that hangs in the air like smoke. He didn't deny it. Didn't ask who I was talking about. He just stared at me, and then looked down at his plate like the truth had always been there between the linguine and the half-drunk glass of wine. I stood up. The chair scraped loudly against the tile. "I have to go." Riss, but I was already walking away, my chest heaving, tears blurring the string lights into a glowing mess of color. In the car, I sat with my forehead against the steering wheel. I should have waited. Should have talked to him at home. Should have let him explain, or maybe I didn't want him to. Maybe I didn't want another excuse about how he was lonely, or how I'd changed, or how he didn't mean for it to happen. And what scared me most was that I didn't feel righteous. I felt hollow. Because some small, broken part of me still thought maybe I had failed him. If I had stayed sexy and spontaneous, if I hadn't said not tonight so many times, maybe he wouldn't have gone looking for someone who said yes more easily. I hated that I even thought that. I hated that he made me think that. But most of all, I hated how somewhere along the way, I stopped being his partner, and started being the villain in the story he tells himself to feel better. 3 weeks. That's how long it's been since the restaurant. The first week, we didn't speak unless it was about Milo, diapers, snacks, his new obsession with cardboard boxes. We passed each other like polite strangers, like coworkers who used to be close but now just share a break room. The second week, Evan started sleeping on the couch. He didn't announce it. He just didn't come to bed one night. I found the extra blanket folded on the end of the couch, his work phone charging on the side table. The third week, he stopped trying to hide how tired he looked. And that's what gutted me. Because he wasn't angry. He was sad. And not the kind you throw across a room, not loud or demanding. This was the quiet kind of sad that sits behind your eyes. Sometimes I'd catch him staring at nothing, like he was somewhere far away. And I wanted to ask what he was thinking. I wanted to touch his shoulder. I wanted to go back in time. But I didn't. Because I didn't know how. One night, I stood at the kitchen sink watching him through the patio door. He was in the backyard tossing a ball with Milo. He was laughing, big, open laughter I hadn't heard in months. And it made something ache in me. Because I remembered falling in love with that version of him. The one who could light up a room, who used to hold my face when he kissed me like it was sacred. I missed Evan. But I also missed myself. And maybe that's what I hadn't admitted until now, that we'd both disappeared a little. That somewhere in the grind of bottles and bills and long shifts and even longer silences, we both forgot how to reach for each other. I blamed him for the affair. I still do. He made a choice, and it broke something. But I also saw the guilt in his face when he thought I wasn't looking. I saw the way his hands trembled when he helped me bring in groceries. I saw the way he looked at Milo like he was both the reason he stayed and the reason he felt stuck. He wasn't a monster. He was just a man who felt lonely. And made a terrible, selfish decision. But I wasn't a saint either. I'd been pulling away long before she ever showed up. I stopped letting him in, stopped trusting that he could handle the real version of me, the tired, postpartum, hormonal, stretched-thin version. And maybe I did that to protect myself. Maybe I thought if I asked for too much, he'd leave. Turns out, he left anyway. Now, every night, we sit on opposite ends of the couch watching reruns. We laugh at the same parts. We say goodnight in the same breath. But there's a canyon between us, and neither of us knows how to build the bridge. I still love him. That's the hardest part. I still love him, and I don't know if that's enough. Tonight, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling again, same as always, and I whispered it like a prayer. Do I want to try again? Not for marriage. Not for appearances. Not for Milo. But for me. For the part of me that still remembers what it felt like to be chosen. And for the first time in a long time. I didn't know the answer. I found him in the garage. He was sitting on the old workbench, elbows on his knees, holding something in his hands, Milo's broken toy truck. The silence between us was familiar now. Heavy but not hostile. I was gonna fix it, he said, without looking up. Figured I should try to fix something. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, unsure what I came out there to say. I didn't even feel angry anymore. Just worn down. He set the truck down and met my eyes. I'm sorry, Riss. I nodded. I'd heard the apology before, in words, in gestures, in that way he avoided looking at my body like it was too loaded, too much history. I know, I said quietly. He rubbed his face with both hands. I was lonely. That's not an excuse. It's just the truth. I was lonely too, I whispered. You just left a different way. For a long time, we didn't speak. He stood up, stepped toward me. Stopped short. I don't expect forgiveness, he said. But I'd give anything to find a way back to you. I closed my eyes. Because some part of me still wanted to believe that was possible, that love could stretch far enough to hold the cracks. But when I opened them, I realized something had shifted. He was still Evan. The man I built a life with. The man who once made my body hum and my laugh louder. But he wasn't my person anymore. We both changed. And love, as deep as it had run, wasn't enough to unchange what had been done. I stepped forward and rested my head on his chest. He stiffened, surprised. Then his arms wrapped around me, strong, familiar, gentle. We stood like that for a long time. I believe you loved me, I said. Maybe you still do. But we lost something, Evan. And I can't keep bleeding for a version of us that doesn't exist anymore. He pressed his lips to my forehead. A kiss full of apology. A kiss that said goodbye without saying it. Later that night, I watched him sleep on the couch, his body curled toward the back cushions like he was trying to disappear. And my heart broke all over again. But this time, not from betrayal. This time, it broke for two people who tried. And couldn't find their way back. You know what no one tells you about motherhood? It's not just about gaining a child. You lose whole pieces of yourself. Quietly. Slowly. Like melting ice, unnoticed until you're standing in a puddle wondering when it all disappeared. I didn't see it happening. One day I was Marissa, 29, flirty, confident, impulsive. The next I was mom. Responsible. Practical. Tired. And somewhere in between those two people, I stopped seeing myself as someone worth being wanted. I thought Evan didn't see me either. But now, looking back, maybe I stopped letting him. I wrapped myself in a shell of function and fatigue and convinced myself he should just know how to reach me. And when he didn't, when he touched me the wrong way, or didn't ask the right questions, I blamed him for not trying harder. I don't say that to excuse what he did. What he did was a betrayal. Of trust. Of vows. Of years. But I also can't ignore the years that led up to it. We were both so desperate to feel seen. To feel chosen. And instead of turning toward each other, we turned inward. He turned to someone else. And I turned to survival. Sometimes people ask, why didn't you fight for it? Why didn't you stay? The truth? I did fight. But not in the way people romanticize, not with grand gestures or teary reconciliations. I fought in the dark, invisible ways. I fought by folding laundry when I wanted to scream. I fought by brushing past him in the hallway and pretending it didn't break me. I fought by staying even after the lies came out, just to see if anything was left to salvage. And then I stopped fighting. Because I realized the person I needed to fight for was me. I needed to remember who I was before I started measuring my worth in milk ounces, or how quickly I could bounce back after birth, or how often I said no when I meant maybe. I needed to remember what desire felt like when it wasn't survival-based. That kind of rediscovery is quiet. It's not loud or dramatic. It's sitting on the floor of your closet and asking, what do I want, and really listening to the answer. And sometimes the answer is, not this. Not anymore. Evan and we're kind now. Respectful. Polite in a way that hurts more than fighting ever did. We parent well together. We laugh sometimes. He brings me coffee when he drops off Milo. We're learning how to love each other differently, without possession. And maybe that's a kind of happy ending too. Not the movie kind. Not the kind you frame on the wall. But the kind where you look in the mirror and say, I came back to myself. That's the part one hopes someone out there hears tonight. If you feel like you're disappearing, you're not crazy. You're not selfish. You're not broken. You're just exhausted from carrying everything silently. You can ask for more. You can say, I miss who we were, and also say, but I miss me more. You're allowed to leave something that looks good from the outside but feels hollow on the inside. And you're allowed to stay, too, if there's real hope, real healing. But whatever you do, promise yourself this: don't become the villain in your own story just because someone else needed you to be. You are not a footnote in someone else's redemption arc. You are the main character. Even when it hurts. Even when you have to start over. Even when you're scared. Especially then. 7.